Hey Phone Dog viewers, BeauHD here, and in my hands I have the Samsung Galaxy S5 and the LG G3. The Galaxy S5 was released a few months ago, while the LG G3 was recently announced and launched in select countries. Both phones are packed full of great tech specs, so let's go ahead and see which phone is right for you. So if we first take a look at the design of each phone, we'll see two completely different stories. The Samsung Galaxy S5 has a large 5.1-inch 1080p Super AMOLED display with relatively thick bezels, while the LG G3 has a 5.5-inch IPS LCD display with a 2560 by 1440 resolution display and very thin bezels that make it very similar in size to the Galaxy S5. But if you're not familiar with the LG G lineup, LG has opted for back-facing buttons, meaning there are no buttons around the sides of the device at all. Instead, they are located on the back so that they are easily accessible with your index finger while you hold the device. I mean, sure, it will take some time to adjust, but after a few days of use, you'll soon realize it's much more natural than reaching around to the sides of the device to adjust the volume or put your phone to sleep, like you would do with the Galaxy S5. It's not necessarily bad to have the buttons on the side of the device. I mean, it's how 95% of phones are designed, but I think it just makes more sense, and I give props for LG innovating in this area. Now, between the LG G3 and Galaxy S5, both phones have drastically different back covers. The S5 has a sort of dimpled, soft-touch plastic back cover, while the LG G3 has a plastic brushed metal back cover. If you're looking for a phone with more grip because maybe you're prone to dropping your phone a lot, then the S5 is hands down the winner, there's no question about it. But if you're looking for a phone that feels more premium in the hands and looks more stylish on the back, then the LG G3 is the phone for you, although unlike the S5, it is much more slippery, so it'll be easier to accidentally drop. But on top of that back cover lies the 16 megapixel camera sensor and heart rate monitor on the S5, and the 13 megapixel camera sensor and laser autofocus sensor on the G3. And what's cool is that both the Galaxy S5 and LG G3 feature removable back covers that allow you to replace the battery whenever you like. But unlike the G3, the S5 and its back cover features waterproofing technology that makes it IP67 certified, meaning you don't really have to worry if you drop it in a sink, toilet, or pool, it'll be perfectly fine, assuming the back cover and all the flaps around the device are securely fastened. Now, upon powering these two devices up, we'll immediately notice the two displays. As I mentioned earlier, the AMOLED display on the Galaxy S5 and the LCD display on the LG G3. While the G3 does have a superior resolution display, the Galaxy S5 display panel has a much brighter and more vivid display than the G3. Whites are wider and colors really pop on the S5 compared to the G3, where they're less vibrant and give off a slight yellow tint when displaying whites. But with that said, when you look up close at each display, the G3 is definitely more crisp, which it should be because it has a whopping 531 pixel per inch index from that insanely high-res display, compared to the 432 pixel per inch index on the 1080p res display on the S5. But as for what is pushing all those pixels, both the Galaxy S5 and LG G3 have similar specs in that they both come equipped with the quad-core Snapdragon 801 processor, clocked at 2.5 GHz. The only major difference between the two is that the G3 has 3 GB of RAM, while the S5 has 2 GB of RAM. But when it comes down to real-world performance, both devices are very fast. Upon opening applications and searching the web, it's really hard to tell if there's a noticeable difference between the two, in that some areas the G3 comes out ahead, while in some areas the S5 is slightly faster. I think really the major difference you will notice between the two devices is just how smooth they are when you navigate through them. I mean, the S5 is running TouchWiz, which is a heavily customized skin on top of Android, so pretty much everywhere you go you will notice the Samsung design and Samsung-only features. And because of just how customized and less optimized it is, it's a lot more buggy than stock Android and less customized versions of Android. This is compared to the custom LG skin on the G3, which is noticeable, but is a lot more toned down than TouchWiz and even the last version of the G3. The UI is much more flat, and LG didn't cram this phone full of useless features and transitions that really slow it down and make it more buggy. I mean, sure, it stutters here and there, but I'd have to say it's not quite as bad as TouchWiz on the S5. One of the best examples of how feature-packed TouchWiz is when we take a look at the camera. Upon opening the camera app, Samsung has a ton of various camera modes and features that allow you to take quick burst shots, record moving objects, HDR modes, and just many others. The LG G3, on the other hand, has a fairly minimalistic camera app with a few features thrown in there here and there, but nothing like Samsung. There is this cool mode that lets you tap and take a picture simultaneously, which is pretty useful for capturing moving objects, And when it's in this mode, it clears up a lot of the settings and the on-screen buttons, making it much more clean and pleasurable to look at. But as for how the two cameras compare, they both take excellent shots. The G3 has the focusing advantage as it uses the infrared light to quickly and accurately focus on a subject, but the S5 has slightly more saturated images that really pop, so for better or worse, that might win you over. And with its slightly higher megapixel count, you can zoom in and still retain a lot of quality, so that's also something to think about if you crop a lot of pictures. But the optical image stabilization on the G3 is also a plus in that it delivers more crisp images, so it's really a close one. Now, as with the camera performance, battery life is equally as important, and thankfully the S5 and G3 both have pretty decent battery life. The LG G3 has a 3000 mAh battery, while the Galaxy S5 has a 2800 mAh battery, and both last a full day of heavy usage, but I'd have to give the G3 the slight advantage since it does a great job learning how you use your phone and optimizes the processor accordingly to save the most battery life. But the S5 does have a great battery saving mode that takes advantage of its AMOLED display, and both devices feature removable batteries so you can swap them out whenever they stop holding a charge. So as you can see, both the S5 and G3 are very similar devices, and it's really hard to say if there is a distinct winner. I mean, the S5 does have a heart rate monitor on the back, so if you're into fitness, health tracking apps, that might sway you in that direction. But the G3 also has a unique feature in that it has a laser autofocus sensor built into the back, which quickly and accurately focuses the camera. And really, since both phones compare so similarly in terms of performance and display quality, I really think these small design and software features are what will really push you one way or the other. So if you think one phone is better than the other, let me know by leaving a comment right down below. I read all of your guys' comments and I love seeing what you guys have to say. And so with that said, I'm BeauHD. I'll see all you phone dogs in the next one. See ya.